South Africa's premier circuit racing show returned to its home base last Saturday for round 6 of this year's Westbank Super Series at Kyalami. A large crowd of Gauteng enthusiasts braved cold weather conditions to attend the Festival of Speed. And Westbank Super Series spokesperson Chop Sapuka explained why.
Yeah, Fox raced at Kyalami. I'm joined by racing driver and presenter extraordinary Chop Sapuka. How are you, bud?
I'm good, and yourself?
Not bad. Looking forward to the racing.
Oh yeah, very fantastic opportunity, yeah. Good racing at Kyalami, the home of motorsport, the home of South African motorsport. We were really in for a very good treat. The people are out here by the numbers to come and support this exciting event.
And super exciting it is. We're going to catch up with all the action on the bikes, the Westbank supercars to the production cars. Let's catch up with all that action right now.
Few things can add more glitz, glamour and excitement to circuit racing occasions than a large collection of priceless, exotic road-going Ferraris actually strutting their stuff on the tarmac, as opposed to being on static display in the paddock. That was exactly what Kyalami's owners and the Bridgestone Production Car Racing Association laid on to whet the spectators' appetite for a noisy, fast and expensive spectacle at the country's traditional home of motorsport. While high-ranking government dignitaries were shown around the pits, teams were preparing for a long, tough day of competition. We asked Afrox BMW team leader Anthony Taylor about his plans.
Well, BMs are good. Etienne was quickest this morning in the first session, Wisebeam, and the second session now. So, yeah, things are looking very positive for the rest of the afternoon. Hopefully we can have a 1-2. I'm a little bit off the pace right now, but we'll see what happens a bit later on.
Any changes you can make to the car to resolve any issues in the car that will help you set that up?
Yeah, look, I mean, you're always busy doing, trying different bits and pieces, maybe a bit of a setup here and there, damper change. But you know, the ADF boys are very good, and so I'm sure we're going to end up with quite a good result.
Audi's Sean Watson-Smith was carefully optimistic.
Well, I guess it's more fair for the guy on pole if it's a two-wheel drive car, because usually he'd do all the hard work, get his pole position, and then get swamped by the four-wheel drives by the first corner. So I can understand that rationale. At least he's almost guaranteed to lead. But then we still have the reverse grid, and in the second heat now, the standing start will be an advantage for us. So obviously we'll have to try and make the most of that. The second heat is now going to be relatively more important than it was in the past.
Another involved party with firm views on the respective merits of standing and rolling starts was Nissan Motorsport boss Glenn Hall.
Yeah, I feel that we haven't achieved what we're capable of doing for one another reason. I think the standing starts that we've had at the race meeting, so when we've been at the head of the grid, we've sort of been consumed by the four-wheel drive Audis off the line. Then in East London, we were really looking good and strong, and we had a flywheel crack, which we didn't spot, so that compromised both races. We changed the clutch between the races, but the clutch wasn't the problem, it was the flywheel, so that compromised Leroy. And of course, Chops was on pole position, which was fantastic, and he got tangled with Johan in the first lap, so it all fell to nothing.
After qualifying, we spoke to the quickest 3 Class A contenders.
Well, congratulations, we have our 3 top dogs today in the Bridgestone Production Cars Top Class A. Congratulations to all of you. We're going to start in third place, of course, Marco de Cunha in the Nissan Sam Racing. Marco, this is quite impressive. There's not one representative from Audi on here, so it's been total domination by the rear-wheel drive cars today. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, I think it's a combination of two things. I think the decision was taken to give the Audi some more weight for the round here at Kyalami. So I think that's helped us slightly. And also I think, you know, my team's put in since the last race a lot of hard work, and we seem to have found some good pace in the car this race.
In second position in the Sassel Nissan, Leroy Poulter. Leroy, it was quite an interesting qualifying for you. You had set up your second fastest time and then got stopped on your way out by the marshals to do a decibel test. That's impacted quite heavily on your qualifying session.
Yeah, look, I think it's the first time ever I've seen something like this happen. I don't know, you know, what the guy was doing, but look, we did get a good lap in the first part of the session, put in the second place. We came in, we thought we could just maybe better it, went out, and the guy stopped us there, and really that was the end of the session for us. So I think A bit unhappy about it, but I am glad to be up here. Again, our cars are going well, the team has done a good job, and I think it's going to be a good race tomorrow.
In first place, we're going to pick up now with Afrox BMW driver Etienne van der Linde. Etienne, congratulations on first place. Beginning of the season, Kyalami saw you on pole. We're back at Kyalami and you're back on pole. This is a favourite hunting ground for you.
Most definitely. The BMW seems to suit Kyalami really well. And once again, my team also put in quite a bit of effort since the last race, and it feels good to be back on the top step after 2 dismal weekends for myself. Hopefully we can keep it there tomorrow.
Behind the top 3, Anthony Taylor's BMW plus the Audis of Melville Priest and Sean Watson-Smith were covered by 1/10 of a second on the grid.
Bridgestone Production Cars Class A, first race of the day, and it's a rolling start this time around. Etienne van der Linde in the Afrox BMW, leading them down into treacherous turn number 1. Marco De Cunha, surprise of the weekend, he's on the pace, and so is Melville Priest. He's found the pace in the Audi, runs in 4th.
Well, I tell you what, the rear-wheel drive cars are stoked about the rolling start. It's giving them an advantage after a really good qualifying. They actually get to going to that corner first. Audi is not too happy at the back of the field.
But watch them come through, Marius. At the moment, we're looking back from the race leader, Etienne van der Linde. He's got the power down. You can see the BMW starting to pull away from the Nissan already. The man that's missing at the front of this picture, though, is Leroy Poulter. Remember, he qualified in 2nd place, but problems on the out lap caused him having to pull in, so that's more championship points lost to the Nissan driver.
Yeah, the Nissan team isn't going to be too happy about that, but knowing Leroy, he's committed. He's going to want to come through and score some very valuable points in the 6th round of the Bridgestone Production Car Series here at Kyalami.
On board with the first of the Audis, Melville Priest, as they go through the S's. He's absolutely flat out. This is the advantage of the Audis. They're able to keep the power down mid-corner. He'll be able to climb up onto the hill very, very early, as well as getting on top of Westbank Corner. He'll get on the power the earliest of the rest of the cars. Taylor in 3rd place, starting to push on. And who's that in 4th, coming under big pressure? Sean Watson-Smith, the first of the Audis, the Engine Extreme Audis this time, just pushing Davy Olivier way, way wide in the Subaru.
Helping to check that Subaru's 4-wheel drive really is working. Coming down the mineshaft is where all the fun and games happen as they come heavy under braking to the Bridgestone Bowl. This is where all the action heats up throughout the race. Watch by lap number 8 or 9. Guys are going to be diving in hard there.
Taylor was looking ominous there. De Cunha already going defensive as there is a gaggle of Audis coming through. They're not the best at the rolling start, but as soon as they get the power down, they're really, really flying. The man I'm surprised to see at the back there struggling, and that is Michael Stephen, currently leading the championship, and behind him was Chop Sapuka. So the 2 flyboys who are really on the pace down at the coastal circuit, the previous round of East London, having problems. Oh, that's one of the Class T drivers out.
That was a pretty big off as well, eh? You can look at the good damage on the front of that car. I'm pretty sure they're going to call out a safety car for this.
Yeah, Piet Fasaki having big, big problems, and that's caused a safety car situation. So we join the racing again, lap 6 of 8, and the man on the move is the man we all watch out for some very aggressive moves, Johan Fourie in the Indy Oils Audi.
Yeah, let's hope him and Sean can actually finish the race together without putting much damage on that car. I think Johan's looking forward to an incident-free weekend here at Kyalami.
That's what he's looking for, but he's going side by side as they go through the sweep. That's all he wants to do. He wants a nice, clean race. He won't push too hard. Only a couple of laps left. Race 2 is what he's all about. Race 2 is where you're going to see him come through on board with Johan Fourie. You can see side by side with Sean Watson-Smith, who's going to be the last of the late breakers.
Whoa, Sean, big commitment going in there, and that's a really interesting corner. Exciting for the crowd to watch the action down there as well, and good that we can bring it to you up close with great in-car footage.
You saw the rubbing plastics. Etienne van der Linde comes through, leading out over De Cunha. What a drive from the Sam Nissan driver, really putting himself ahead of people like that. That's Chop Sapuka in the factory Sasol Nissan as well.
But Matt, the man impressing me, Melville Priest, the first of the Audi runners, and he's chasing Anthony Taylor super hard. Look at the gap he's got between himself and the Engine Extreme Audis of Sean Watson-Smith and Johan Fourie in the Indy Oil.
I'll tell you what though, Etienne van der Linde has ridden a faultless race, fastest in qualifying, straight out from the front, and the man who is in 8th place at the moment, which will put him on pole for race number 2, that's Michael Stephen coming through. But Etienne van der Linde, Afrox BMW wins it.
Etienne van der Linde's victory margin over Marco De Cunha was almost 2 seconds, with Anthony Taylor another 0.2 of a second adrift in 3rd place.
Race 2, standing start, lights ablaze, and the wheels start flying. The Audis come and they pull away straight away. Michael Stephen, Audi Engine Extreme, starts pulling away. And here's Johan Fourie. He wants a race win. He's got it under the bag.
think Sean Watson-Smith is pretty well off the line there. Darby seemed to get a bit bogged down in his Subaru. Sean taking evasive action. But this is where the Audis are strong. Michael Stephen, what a perfect start for him. I wonder if the Audis are going to race away from this one.
Audis 1, 2, 3 and 4 before we go and pick up on the first of the BMWs, and that at the moment is Etienne van der Linde. He's looking very, very strong, but he's got Marco de Cunha, who is so impressed me this weekend in the Sam Racing Nissan. It's a three-man team this time around, but they've certainly put in a lot of work to that car to make it run. And currently in fourth place ahead of this battle is Melville Priest, and he's consistently good this year.
Yeah, Marco certainly had his race face on when we chatted to him before the race too. So I think impressive things coming his way, but the guys are bunching up and fighting for space going into the S's.
We've also got Poulter up there. He's obviously fixed the problems on the car, and he's in the mix, running in fifth place at the moment. Audi's completely sideways. Johan Fourie not lifting off that loud pedal 1 inch as we watch Taylor and Poulter. They're coming up onto West Bank corner. Taylor goes defensive, but Poulter just leaning the shoulder of that 350Z Nissan, and he has to go all the way around the outside, but he keeps it buried, and he keeps himself ahead of Melville Priest. So it's Stephen leading down into the mine shaft. Then it goes to Fourie. Then it's the teammate of the race leader, that's Sean Watson-Smith. Then Taylor, then Poulter. We've got all the big hitters out front.
But Michael Stephen, I think, sitting very pretty, opened up a nice little lead early on in this race, and I think he's going to be hoping to keep that distance between himself and Johan Fourie and let the rest of the guys fight it out back of the field.
You can see them weaving and bobbing, trying to get position, but Michael Stephen clean and clear at the moment. Johan Fourie just bringing everyone along from the right, and the second heat, with it being a standing start, has really changed the face of racing now. The guys at Production Cars have really put together a good show for us this weekend.
Matt, you're spot on. It's really made for pretty different racing. Normally we would see race 1 with the static start and rolling start in race 2, but turning it the other way around makes it fair for the guys in qualifying, but makes for super exciting racing in race 2.
Oh, that's what it's going to be all about. Etienne van der Linde starting to come into the 4 as well. Second of the Afrox BMWs, and we watch Michael Stephen absolutely flat out. Johan Fourie starting to separate himself from the rest of the drivers. The orange Sam Nissan there, that's Darren Lobb. He's had a bit of a problem this weekend, slightly off the pace as he was from the previous round down at the coast, but his teammate, certainly no excuses for him. Marco de Cunha looking very strong, running in 6th place as we look at him from the onboard shots of Etienne van der Linde.
But this Afrox BMW has looked great the whole weekend. I think Kyalami really does suit the rear-wheel drive BMW. So some pretty impressive driving. Be sure to see Etienne van der Linde making his way right through the field. Maybe he can get up to 2nd place and overall win.
Well, he's just actually taken the position of Melville Priest, so BMW moves up 1 spot. So it's Audi versus Audi versus Audi. Then we pick up on the first of the BMWs. That's Anthony Taylor, and he's looking strong. Oh, what has happened? Johan Fourie coming up and into the mix, and he's just brought everyone along for the ride. Michael Stephen must have had a problem in that lap. It's closed everyone up as Taylor makes a big mistake.
And takes his teammate out of the race as well. That's not going to be very popular in the Afrox BMW pit. You can see Etienne van der Linde limping away with a damaged car. That's really opened up the field and brought the Nissan straight through. No BMWs to compete with.
Well, there we go. It was rear-wheel drive. He just got on the loud pedal way too early with the wheels slightly off traction, lit it up and just went ploughing into his teammate. And that's obviously knocked Etienne van der Linde back after he'd moved up that 1 position to hold into 5th place. He's dropped way off the pace. So now Michael Stephen, Johan Fourie, then we go back to Sean Watson-Smith, and then we go back to Leroy Poulter. He actually runs in 4th place in the first of the rear-wheel drive cars.
But I tell you what, the Audis are looking super racy, especially Johan Fourie. I think he's wanting to make up for a pretty tough race 1, and looks like he's putting Michael Stephen under some serious pressure, but he's bringing Sean Watson-Smith along with him.
Now Fourie in the India Oils car, really the meat in the sandwich to the Audi Extreme vehicles. But what is going on here? Look at Poulter. He is bringing the fight with only 3 laps to go. Oh, he gives a big nudge. There goes Sean Watson-Smith, goes spinning out completely. Oh, he's going to have words about that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be 2 points of view in the pit lane afterwards. But Sean Watson-Smith whipping that car around, a bit of aggression coming through there, wanting to get back into the race. But last lap action, have a look at that. Johan Fourie in the India Oils Audi has actually pushed one past Michael Stephen, and it's going to be all hot racing now going into the final couple of corners of this awesome Kyalami track.
Stephen just caving under the pressure. That's what Johan Fourie is so good at. Doesn't actually push the driver or the car, just actually keeps the pressure on and makes you worry enough that you miss your braking marker, miss your turning point, and that's allowed the Indy oil to hit up front. We've seen this happen so many times, and he'll just be praying that no one takes him out. He's been cursed with bad luck and incidents, and a cloud following him around all year. But at the moment, Johan Fourie leads with just a few corners to go, and the resurgent of Leroy Poulter, he now runs in third place.
I hope we haven't gone and put the commentator's curse on Johan Fourie with a couple of corners, because that often happens. And they're heading into the hot spot, the last opportunity, I think, for Michael Stephen, under braking at the Bridgestone Bowl. Let's have a look. Onboard action with Michael Stephen. The concentration as he lines the car up and pushes it through there. But the four-wheel drive certainly biting down and giving him good drive out of that corner as they come into the very, very tricky little complex. But Johan Fourie is also in a four-wheel drive Audi, so it's pretty even. One more corner to go. Who's it going to be? I think it's Johan Fourie. What do you reckon, Matt?
I reckon so. 188 kilowatts of power flat out, and he's got himself to the front. Johan Fourie will be a very happy man to have finally got ahead, taking the win and taking a clean race as well.
The race result was close, with the first three cars crossing the finish line in the same second. We spoke to winner Johan Fourie in the post-race paddock.
And with a smile on your face, I don't think you feel the 55 kilograms of extra weight in your car.
No, seriously. The only thing when you change gears is the expression on your face, because our car doesn't go anywhere. It's quite slow. You can see a lot compared to the BMs, and listen how slow it is. But luckily, Michael and myself had the same weight, so we were in the same boat. I don't know why we got away from the rest. Like I said, I think the BMs are challenging Sean, so we just managed to open the gap, and then it was difficult for him to close it down again. So.
Kyalami's events left this year's Class A Championship chase wide open, with the leading 5 drivers on the points ladder still very much in the hunt for the season's top accolade. Such vehicles. Friday's qualifying session would be a closely fought affair, with the top drivers from Ford, Seat, Volkswagen, Opel and Mazda doing battle. A new combination with problems was that of Richard Rutz in his Opel Astra OPC.
Richard, you're at Kyalami, first time out in the Opel Astra OPC. How did this morning session go for you?
The car's been going brilliant all morning. The last session wasn't so good. We broke our wheel studs. So it's a big panic to get it ready for qualifying. We're going to have to try our best and see if we get it there in time.
See if you get it there in time. I mean, this isn't really the ideal start, is it? What happens if you don't get it ready?
Then we'll have to start at the back, so there's no choice. We have to get it ready. And so far the car's been going so well that it's going to be a total waste to miss qualifying.
The Rob Green Motorsport technicians did get his Opel up and running in time, and Rutz rewarded them by scoring the Astra OPC's first pole position, first time out. Ben Morgenrud headed the Class B grid in his Mazda RX-8, leading Donnie van Niekerk's Ford Fiesta ST.
As with Class A's, the Class T's get a rolling start this time around, led out by Reggie Roots. First time out in the new vehicle, and he leads them out. Ian Pepper's going to be in the mix as well. As we look back from his car, you saw Graham Nathan just shooting up the inside of Sean Duminy in the second of the Ford Focuses. It's going to be a ding-dong battle here as Gary Formato goes head-to-head with his old enemy, Reggie Roots.
But let me tell you, the talk in the pit lane has been about the introduction of Richard in his super quick 177 kilowatt Opel Astra OPC. He's been blisteringly fast in qualifying, and I think he's got the race pace as well. It's only the opening lap, but he's got a good head start.
Well, his teammate Gary Van Heerden showed down at Swadkops that the guys were going to come out really strong with the new manufacturer into Class D. Whoa, a couple of guys getting sideways going into Sunset. First it was Duminy, and then Piers Fasaki. Looks like he got straightened up and plowed straight into the wall. So problems at the back end of Class D.
Yeah, I don't know if they're scoring points for drifting, because that isn't your usual line through Goodyear Sweep, or as we know it as Sunset. But I'm sure it's going to make for some interesting racing at the back of the field. Guys taking some super evasive action. But let's have a look at the power. Graham Nathan's got a lot to prove after his big off in East London. And I think he's been so stoked chatting to him earlier about getting that car ready for the race. Ben Morgenrud, what a race he's been having with Donnie van Niekerk. And there you have it. He did bang that wall pretty hard. Piet Fasaki looks like he's out, and I'm pretty sure safety car situation.
Yeah, that's going to cause a little bit of traffic. Everyone's going to bunch back up, and of course that's going to make things really tight at the front with just 2 laps to go. It is a 3-way battle. Roots, Formato, and then we go back to Nathan. And don't forget about Pepper. He's always up there in the mix. Formato, we go on board looking at the back end of that OPC. It looks like they're going pretty slow, but I promise you it is almost flat tapped into this sweep all the way around. He's got a very late apex, and then he's going to give it absolutely everything, trying to get late on the brakes, but you can see Roots is actually very, very defensive, goes on the brakes early to get on the power early to try and drag his way out. You can hear the turbo clunking away on the Ford. He puts the power down. Oh, Roots has got a problem.
Yeah, I think he's lost a bit of power coming out of the corner, and Gary Formato to take some super evasive action, which has just meant Graham Nathan has come charging hard, and Ian Pepper's back in that mix as well. This is going to be pretty interesting. Wonder what happened to that Opel OPC. We'll have to have a chat with the guys afterwards, but he looks like he's out of the race.
Teething problems, unfortunately, but he did what he had to do, and he get some points for qualifying first in his class as well as leading a couple of the laps. But Nathan now, he's got the bit between his teeth, and Gary Formato is going to have to fight hard for this win because Graham Nathan really wants it. Historically, he's had the fastest car out there in the shape of the Seat, and he's going to give a good dice to Gary Formato. These guys don't hold back an inch, and you can see both cars drifting through the sweep.
It is unbelievable onboard footage. I think it really gives you an idea of what it's like to be in this race car. And have a look at Graham holding the tighter line coming out of the underbraking, and he's side by side. Whoa, who is going to brake first? Let's have a look who's going to hold out. And Graham Nathan has the racing line. Formato can do nothing but slip in behind him. And Ian Pepper's still there. This is going to be neck and neck racing going to the end.
You know what? That's what all these guys have been saying. It's great close racing, but everyone actually gives each other enough room to breathe, and you won't see a lot of damage now. It was that case at the beginning of the season. They were bashing into each other, but now it's nice, clean racing, and the faster man definitely shows through. Formato starting to drop off the pace, so the Ford having some problems late in the race, and look at that, almost plows into one of the slower Class A drivers.
Yeah, pretty good evasive action. Sean Dumney clearly missing his braking marks. Maybe it's brake fade in that Nando's Ford Racing Ford Focus ST, but he's making his way back on the track, and that's going to drop him way, way back.
Very unfortunate. He was in the dice. He could have finished in the top 5, but the top 3 at the moment is all about the Seat. He's kept himself ahead. A little bit of luck, but we go back to the Class B battle now. Ben Morgenroot still stays ahead of the Ford of Van Niekerk, but Van Niekerk's going to be pushing him as hard as he possibly can. He's trying to get back a couple of the points that he lost by missing out those races at Swadkops, but Ben is absolutely on fire here at Kyalami.
Yeah, Kwesi Swanepoel dropped off the pace in a distant third then. He's Barnett's Toyota Runex, but this guy doesn't give up. Look at Donnie diving through the inside of Ben Morgenroot. Great overtake move, running a bit wide, and Ben with all of experience straight back at him. You chase me down the straight, son.
Yeah, pointless move, unfortunately, with the flat-out power of the RX-8. As we go back to the front of the Class T battle, Pepper's starting to pull his way up there. Remember, he sits in 3rd place because of all the problems, and with Roots going out of action with problems with the Astra OPC, Gary Formato hasn't given up at all, but he is completely out of time now. Nathan just tearing his way down. He's going to get going into the S's, and then it is almost victory lane.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a very jubilant Graham Nathan in the pit lane. He puts everything on the line. He races hard. He's a committed guy, and this is going to be a great result for him.
Yeah, look at that. He's hard on the brakes one more time through onto the final corner, and he'll be giving that Seat absolutely everything. Formato's got to be happy. He's got a nice, consistent result there in 2nd place with Pepper in 3rd.
The results with Seat, Ford and Volkswagen sharing the podium steps again demonstrated how ferociously competitive this class of production car racing is. Afterwards, we caught up with an ecstatic Graham Nathan.
So that's the emotion we're looking for. Well done.
Thank you very much.
You must be stoked. Welcome back after rolling in East London. You're rolling back here.
Yeah, I had a big crash in East London, but all credit here is to all the guys that have tucked in late nights for hours and hours and hours. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sayed. Thank you, Vic. Thank you. Thanks, my father, for being at my workshop while I'm not there doing it. Thank you very much to everybody who's been involved in helping me get to this point again.
And it looked like it was a really good race.
It was an incredible race. Riding in Class T at the moment, there's so much respect amongst the guys. Nobody rides into each other. If you have a go up the inside, you get given space. It's just incredible. Unlucky for Richard on his debut in the OPC. Something went wrong. He was really going very well, but I'm just over the moon that I'll take it. Sorry for him, but I'll have it. Thank you very much.
The second race started with the government's official seal of approval.
Racing is approved, thank goodness, and we are underway racing. Race number 2, Dumini leads them out in Class T's, but look at Pepper. PG Autoglass GTI is absolutely flying, and here comes Graham Donker. Now we're going to have to watch out for the flyboys to come from the back of the grid this time around. It is going to be exciting and close racing.
Yeah, Record Roots is hoping that his Opel Astra OPC is going to make it through race 2, but he's got a hell of a lot of work to do coming all the way from the back of the grid with an inverted start.
3rd place is held by Dr. Block, Kurt Olchen. not given that name for any other reason, but he rides a very, very wide car, and he is hitting at the front at the moment. It's going to be very hard work to get around him, but I'll tell you what, Graham Nathan is on fire. Look at that, almost tagging into the back end of Donker. He's now going to have to sit underneath Reggie Roots, which sits just in front on the left-hand side, and try and follow him all the way through to the next left-hander.
But it's amazing to watch the defensive lines the guys are taking this early on in the race. With the quicker cars wanting to come through, Graham Donker is having to defend for all he's worth. But the guys are muscling their way through in the Legends Clubhouse bend. Nathan is through, Richard Rutz is through. We're in for hot racing now, man.
Duminy coming under big pressure. Ian Pepper is on the charge. Then it's Alchin, and then it is Gary Formato. So one of the fast guys is getting up there, and he's got a teammate in front of him as well. So watch out and see what he can do. Look at the different line from Gary Formato. Swings out way, way wide. Looks like Duminy had a problem at the top of Westbank. Just comes screaming across, almost cuts the nose off Kurt Alchin, and now he's got his teammate underneath him.
Well, that's exactly what Ian Pepper was hoping for. One little mistake under braking, and that frees him up in front. But Gary Formato is coming through long and hard, and they're going to be heavy under the braking at the Bridgestone Bowl. And I think Formato's made a clean overtake on Duminy. He's just dropping back.
There must have been a team tactic talk in the race pits before race number 2, because that was set up oh so well. And at the end of the day, you've got to use your teammates for stuff like that. Look at Berzet in the MFC Mazda. He's on a charge, actually making a move on Nathan before Nathan drops the hammer in the Seat and gets the move back.
This is going to be very interesting coming down the main straight now and into those very tricky complexes, because the guys are lining up pretty well for some hot racing. You see Duminy dropped all the way to the back, and Gary van Heerden, another Opel Astra OPC, just hasn't found the pace today.
No, Gary's had a real rough day at the office. We pick up on the Class Bs. Ben Morgenroot still hasn't found a way past Kursus Swanepoel, but it is still all hot action at the front here. There's Richard Roots. He's now coming up on Kurt Alchin. He wants to get up into the mix and see what he can do and try and break into the top 3.
That'll be a nice way for him. His first race meeting at Kyalami in that Opel Astra. Let's hope he gets a race win, but he's got a lot of tough competition and some very experienced drivers to get through first.
Well, did you see that? Formato actually held back on going up the inside of Ian Pepper. So like I said, these guys are trying to show a bit of respect and try and give each other as much room as they possibly can. Roots started to make a move. Roots moves himself up into 3rd place ahead of Duminy. Duminy completely out of line when he comes through into Sunset.
But pretty good racing, giving each other a free line and a clear go at the next corner. That's what we want to see in the T racing. Good bumping, as I said, clean racing. Kurt Alchin leans across and says, "How you doing, Graham? You're racing with me now, mate." So this is really exciting stuff. Right heavy on the brakes and up the back of Duminy. He's under immense pressure from Graham Nathan, who wants to get on the back of Richard Roots.
As we said, clean racing, rubbing plastics absolutely everywhere. You can actually see in the rear view mirror Graham Nathan just cursing and really praying that he can get around Duminy as soon as possible, because you can see the guys queuing up behind him. There we go. He's just going to push Duminy the whole way around this corner, try and make a mistake. There he goes again. The Ford just maybe battling with understeer at the moment, but certainly the pressure from Graham Nathan is starting to get to him as Formato puts on the chase out front.
Yeah, Gary Formato, look, getting that car sideways as he comes into the very tight, heavy braking spot. Ian Pepper is under some serious pressure, because for me, Gary Formato is on a charge and got the hammer down.
No, he's flying. He's had some real problems, and once again outbrakes himself in the same spot. Sean Duminy, when he was in the fight for the top 5, has dropped way back.
Should we call that the Duminy Bowl? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. You need to name a corner after this guy. This is his first time around this track, unfortunately. He missed out the early season with cars not being ready, but I'll tell you what, he's had a bit of a baptism of fire, and looks like Gary Formato's having some problems as well, as Ian Pepper disappears off into the distance. The car is not sounding healthy, and there goes Richard Roots around. Oh, look at that. Formato's had to avoid him. He's got into a spin.
This is an unusual thing for you to see. Gary Formato losing it. Oh, my word, he's rolled the car as well. That's some pretty interesting action into that corner. It's a scary place to lose a car.
Absolutely terrible. The car over on its roof. It looked like Formato ran out of brakes, but he certainly had a problem before that as well, because the car seemed down on power as Richard Roots drove around him very, very easily. Obviously full yellows while the marshals can figure that out. Here's the replay. We'll check it out. He's right under the rear wheel, has to go out onto the dirty part of the circuit, locks it up and then turns into the slide. The Bridgestone tyres hook and he goes straight over.
Yeah, this isn't 4x4 racing. That Ford Focus isn't going to do too well on a reverse slide through the sand trap. But we catch the action on the last lap. Gary Formato is fine, but Ian Pepper is stoked out front and getting chased pretty hard with Richard Roots. But with one corner to go, I think it's pretty safe to say this is going to be a great result for Ian Pepper.
Graham Nathan chasing hard and getting stuck, unfortunately, in some of the Class A action, but he'll be very happy to cross the line in a third. But elated will be first place man Ian Pepper in the PG Auto Glass GTI.
Volkswagen's Ian Pepper beat Opel's Richard Roots by just more than a second, with Seat's Graham Nathan third. Again, 3 separate manufacturers in the first 3 places. Ben Morgenroot took another Class B victory in his Mazda, but the man of the moment was Class T winner Ian Pepper.
I got a great start and got stuck behind Sean Duminy for a little bit, and I think he was just trying a bit too hard. He was sideways. Once I got past him, I built up quite a lead quite easily, then started to take it a bit easy, and then the bloody safety car came out, so that closed everything up. And I managed to judge the restart and catch him a little bit asleep. Pulled away a bit, and then two Class A cars had their own incidents and got involved in our race, and I had to back off, which allowed them to get back onto us. But with Reichardt and that, it was clean. I could see Graham coming, and I put new pads in like an idiot before the start of the race, and there was no predictability on the brakes. They would either lock up or there wouldn't be anything. So I'll take the win. I think hats off to Brett that helped me prepare the car for the weekend, Jared, sponsors, PG Glass, Sack Shocks, everybody.